Welcome to Kelly Minds Her Manners, a podcast about real estate and entrepreneurship with a twist. Here's your host, Kelly Robinson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kelly Minds Her Manners, where I am lucky enough to be interviewing my friend, Steve Salm. Steve Salm is the founding partner of Concord Music Group, overseeing the company's M&A activity and business development initiatives in the music IP market. They acquire publishing companies, record labels, music copyright catalogs, master recording catalogs, key artists and songwriter deals, and theatrical grand rights. Concord Music's portfolio of 800,000 songs and 270,000 master recordings includes more than 400 gold, platinum, diamond releases, including over 300 Grammy winners. Fun fact, in 2022, Concord made $6.19 per second streaming. That's $6.19 per second. Well, thank you for being on my show and taking the time out of your very busy and important schedule. I am so lucky to know you as a friend, and I hope we have a fun, informative, inspiring session.
Well, I'm looking forward.
So I want to start off with you telling the audience your story. You can start from the beginning, from like the day you were born if you want to, or you can start from anywhere you want. But I want to know your history and how it all kind of came to bring you where you are now.
All right. Well, I think it's probably best to start towards the end of high school when college was in contemplation. I was a very good student, studied hard, enjoyed studying. And then rudely, I was told that high school, you graduate and you go to college. And at that point, you have to start thinking about what you may want to do from there. And I really had never thought about that. I decided to apply to Cornell and got an early admission to go to Cornell and studied real hard there. After Cornell, again, I had no clue what even interested me. So I left Cornell, moved to Washington, D.C., sold season tickets for the Washington Capitals because I thought at that point, which would be relevant later in my career, you take a job that you like. Mm-hmm. I loved hockey. So it was my first job after college. I was essentially a salesman selling season tickets, armed with an Ivy League college degree that really wasn't the total fulfillment of what I saw myself doing. Mm-hmm. So helped a few startup companies in DC. It was sort of around the tech beginning of the some technology expansion, and believe it or not, the beginning of the web. Those jobs really went nowhere either for me. And I decided the best thing to do at that point was sort of a reset to see if I could figure out what a career might look like. I've always had a little bit of a challenge following the rules, and corporate ladders never really appealed to me. So really, what do you do at that point? So went back to graduate school. Fortunately, getting my MBA was really what, strangely at the time, which I didn't understand, set me off into the career path and the career in the company that I'm still with right now.
And that was at Emory, right?
Yes, that was at Emory.
You were at Emory.
So, yeah, at Emory, I got a scholarship to go to Emory. And luckily there, I saw an ad to be a local music reporter for MTV. So I was moonlighting at MTV while at Emory and doing morning show interviews with rock stars and some midday and evening interviews with rock stars while getting my MBA.
Which is super cool. I mean, and that's something that I'll ask you a little bit more about. We know you're both sides of the brain, right? That's a rare quality. You love listening to music and going to shows. And I'm assuming that's something that you've always loved doing since you were a kid, right? But you also like math and numbers, right? So what are you more obsessed with, listening to music and going to shows, or analyzing the business side of things and kind of nerding out on the numbers? And what makes you nerd out?
Well, I think you'll find out that a lot of musicians actually are good at math as well.
That's true. That's very true. Composers especially, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about math that I always liked is there's an answer. You're kind of right or you're kind of wrong, or you're very right or very wrong. So the way that my mind has always worked, it is enjoyed math more than, say, reading or writing essays and stuff like that, because you get to a discrete end of a problem solve and you're told, did you get it right? Little less abstract. So my brain does work in abstract fashions for sure, but when it came to studying, math was more of my thing, which really I've accounts for a lot of the success at my current job as well.
That's awesome. I was terrible at math. I can do real estate math. That's about it. So tell me more about this moonlighting gig as a local music beat reporter for MTV's website. Do you contribute that experience to where you are today?
Yeah. And, you talk to a lot of people about their career and you find out that when they're in the different chapters of it, they don't see how everything's connected. And then you get to certain places and you say it makes exact sense. MTV would send me on interviews with pretty big rock and roll musicians as Atlanta was kind of peaking in its scene at that point. And they would just have me sit down and interview artists. And I kind of had free reign within, proper ranks to ask these musicians and artists, various questions and kind of craft the interviews as I wanted to. And so it was great. They loved being interviewed and they wanted to be on MTV. So having that brand behind me was super powerful. And it really was, as it relates to where my career went, that comfortability of speaking to famous people, wild and crazy musicians, and learning to kind of break the walls down to talk to artists in a way that they understand is critically important in where my career has gone with Concord. Yeah.
Can you briefly describe your job for people not well-versed in the business side of the music world?
Sure. As the Chief Business Development Officer, which is a lofty title, really simply said, it has been and it is my job to determine on a financial realm for an investor base what a song is worth. You can walk into a house and you can say, this is the amount of square footage, this is the location, this is what a house should be bought or sold for. My unique, strange skill is I can do that for songs.
And how do you do that? Like, how do you know if a song is going to be a big hit or not?
Well, I don't deal in songs that have not been created yet. That is more of what we call A&R. That is when you sign someone or some people that you think have future potential.
Okay.
I'm dealing with what we call catalogs of songs that an artist or a songwriter has created that has shown us the history of how that music's consumed.
Okay.
So, as I always say, good music and bad music both make a lot of money because you can see the money coming in and you can see how people listen to it. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song that is part of your catalog? I know that's probably a really tough question.
Let's get back to that one.
Okay.
We have, there's about 1 million songs running in and out. So I need to think about that for a second.
Okay, no problem. Do you find that you connect more with the artists that you've worked with or the business people that you work with?
100% artists. I am dealing in that realm with wonderfully creative, wild, wacky, enthusiastic, passionate people with beautiful and perfect artist minds. And to me, that gives you a lot more opportunity to connect with people. I mean, sure, you put your suit, you put your tie on, and you go sit with the bankers and the lawyers and the financial people, that's academic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to connect with an artist, hey, sometimes you do, and sometimes you just don't.
Yeah. What do most people not know about the music industry?
It's very, very, very hard to make a living at it. We see headlines, even the artists who make the most amount of money doesn't mean they have the most amount of money.
Right.
And I think actually, now that I think about this, what most people don't know is touring is not glamorous. You find out that most artists, once they've gotten through their career and gotten to a point of stability, financially speaking, the road is really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that. What is the scariest part of starting your own business, and what advice would you give people who want to start their own business?
Well, I think something that almost anyone can relate to about the scariest part of starting a business is, for the most part, I think most people are used to having a paycheck every 1 or 2 weeks or however payroll compensates. You've taken a chance on yourself with your career, right? So you know what that's like, not being able to always say, all right, we know what our paychecks are going to be this week. So before I started this, and for the many years in the beginnings when we were trying to build this, I didn't know if it was going to last a day, a week, or a month.
Yeah.
So I had to create my own personal financial structure, not, too lofty or having any idea necessarily what was coming in a week or a month or a year down the road. So, it's scary when you've banked your education and your graduate degree and you start going through your late 20s and your 30s, mid 30s on, and this is all you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were passionate about it and you stuck with it.
Yep.
Tell us more about bicycle music.
So bicycle music was basically the first iteration, for intents and purposes, all intents and purposes, first rendition of my career doing what I do right now. Bicycle was a very small independent company that was in Beverly Hills. The songs that they had the rights to, the copyrights to, was Let Your Love Flow and Sister Christian. Netting out EBITDA just a few $100,000 a year, but they had the infrastructure to collect royalties around the world for the ownership of music copyrights, which is pretty complicated. So we found the people that own Bicycle, and through my investor base, which at that point was Mass Mutual, we bought into Bicycle, which was in Beverly Hills. We were in New York, and that really started out the foundation. Yeah.
What advice would you give to your younger self, if any?
Well, the same advice I give to my younger self as I give to myself today, because I can't get myself to change. And that word is patience. Right? As an entrepreneur, you can't be patient. But if you're not patient, both in how you make your money and seeing where the trajectory of your company is going to grow, you're going to make impulsive decisions that might not be smart. So with that, you also need checks and balances and the right people around you to make sure that you're all pushing and pulling intelligently. But yeah, advice to me younger is just keep at it. Hard work, for the most part, hard work pays off. Doesn't always mean that what you started, you can finish with the same company, but it might take you to your next place. I think a lot of people, younger people right now, see a path that you want to get wealthy or whatever really fast.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Legally, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
What or who inspires you the most? And what's the best advice that person or you took from that experience?
The gentleman who put me into this business, Brett Hellerman, the late Brett Hellerman out of my first partner from Wood Creek Capital Partners, I would only describe him the best way as the most iconoclastic CEO and entrepreneur. He just did not want to follow the norms. And when I first met him in 2006, having none of this experience under my belt, he said, okay, technology is eviscerating the music business. You just don't bet against people's love for music. He didn't see piracy ending. We didn't see streaming. We didn't see Spotify. But he just said, Steve, we're going to back the truck up and we're going to buy music rights because it's an art form that anyone can access, and technology will figure this out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a question, but it's also related to an audience question.
Okay.
What song do you have on repeat?
Release Me by Pearl Jam.
Yeah. You were always a big Pearl Jam fan, right?
Yeah.
You were also a Journey fan, right?
Well, I mean, who doesn't like Don't Stop Believing? But
Right.
Journey was the first, dating myself, Journey and Styx were the first two cassettes that I own that I put into a, box radio, right? I mean, you hear Don't Stop Believing and everyone's singing it in a bar or at a party now. I'm like, yeah, I was listening to that when I was 12 and it was as good then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. So Andrew Frace, Frace Real Estate on Instagram, asked, what artists can we find in your personal playlist at any given time?
Well, let me look.
Okay.
Let's just answer that correctly. Okay, let's just go down the list. Let me find one of my favorite playlists. Jason Molina.
Okay.
The Foals. Frightened Rabbit. Love Frightened Rabbit. Let's see. And a band called Halos. I've been back into U2 recently. The thing with streaming is your ADD takes you all into new grounds, and then you go back and, you want to hear Joshua Tree. I've probably listened to Joshua Tree now 10 times in the past 5 days. So I'll go back and I'll just really listen. I mean, I'm a huge Neil Young fan. Neil took himself off Spotify.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He had an issue with Joe Rogan.
Oh, okay. I might have heard that.
Politics thing. So
yeah.
So all of a sudden, with the amount of music we can consume and the millions of tracks out there, I realized, I haven't listened to Neil Young in a real long time, So I just listen to more Bob Dylan, I guess.
So Spotify is your go-to place to listen to music then? Like, it's not like what's downloaded on your phone?
Spotify, I was dabbling with MP3 players and digital music when Napster was around. I wasn't stealing. I was learning what this technology was. And the thing that really transformed my music listening, honestly, was moving so frequently because I couldn't carry the CDs. I had thousands of them. They became so heavy.
Yeah. So
the deterioration of my physical listening habits was I took the CDs out of the jewel cases, and those little file folders?
Yeah.
Yeah, once you do that, you don't have the cases anymore. And then those things fray and they're not in order. So my physical collection in CDs just got to be a mess. And so when digital music came out, I was a very early adopter because of just access. I couldn't find all the CDs that I loved. They were scratched and this, that, the other thing.
Okay, so we're both dating ourselves here now. Okay. I had a MySpace page and I was like, an actress at that time and thought I was super deep. So I had one of Sia's like sad songs on there. Did you have MySpace, and what was your MySpace song?
You know what? I was honestly scared of social, a little bit private. I've, shared more things through social media these days because everyone does. But MySpace, I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, I never really took to Facebook either.
Yeah, I don't do much on Facebook. No. Everybody says you have to, but I don't.
So I also, along the lines of what I think you're talking about, I don't if someone asks me about music or what I'm listening to, I'm really happy to share with you. I'll say, tell me your mood, tell me how you want to feel, and I'll present you with music. But we probably both have friends that they can't stop telling you what to watch on Netflix or you have to listen to
Right.
this. And I've never been like that because music to me is so personal.
That's true.
Yeah.
It really is. So tell me a little bit more about your company's portfolio, and because it's massive, and about the Grammy winners and all of these things that, people might not know about Concord Music.
I mean, Concord has more than a half dozen songs that's been streamed well over 1 billion times.
Wow.
Some of that's, with Imagine Dragons. 7 Rings, which is an Ariana Grande song, I think is 1 billion streams. And then some Creedence Clearwater stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our music spans every genre, every decade. Quite honestly, the Grammy wins are not totally the forefront of my mind. I mean, we do win them. A lot of our portfolio, what we've focused on is we're called a mini major.
Okay.
Right? So you have Warner, Universal as the majors, and Sony. And they focus and they spend a lot of money, A&R, which is R&D essentially, on breaking acts in very big genres. Pop, hip hop, rap. I mean, these are the genres that are streaming hundreds of millions of streams per album if you hit the right popularity of an album, like a Post Malone, right? We don't fight in that space. It's a very expensive gamble, and you have to sign a lot to get a few that really hit. And us being an independent company, we don't take risks like that. So, more of our music, we're in a lot of rock. We are in pop. The way that we're in pop music and rap and hip hop is through the songwriter world, usually not the frontline artist.
Okay.
Because if you sign a songwriter, they can write for a variety of artists. If you take a gamble on an artist, the artist is the artist, right? So you better hit, or you better have a portfolio there that 1 out of every 4 or 5 or 6 hits, or you're going to be spending a lot of money. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So where do you see Concord Music in 5 years?
Well, we have an investor. We've been with this strangely, amazingly. We've had the same investor since 2008, 7 or 8.
That's probably a really good sign.
It's wonderful. It's a state pension plan, and they love the investment, and they're super supportive of what we want to do. And look, you get the support if you do the right work. It's not because we're great, fun, nice people, which we are, and they appreciate that, but it's because we deliver.
Yeah. So
one of the things that, so where do we go? There's an interesting thing when you start from a 2-man, 3-person operation, and then you turn into a multi-billion-dollar company, and that is, how do you grow? Yeah. So your question of where's Concord go? How do you move the EBITDA needle 10, 15, 20%, or grow annually at 7 or 8%? You can't necessarily do the small, tiny, wonderful deals all the time.
Right.
I mean, you can, but you can't put as many resources to that. So Concord is built on M&A, which is, what I've been doing here for all these years. And we're going to continue to do that. And the relevancy to your question right now is, now that interest rates have moved all over, and, there's pressure on the consumer, there's pressure on the economy, it also puts pressure on some of our competitors that haven't been around necessarily that long. Their cost of capital is going up. Their scale is not where it should be because they didn't get there. So that's going to bring a lot more opportunity for us, we think, in just terms of M&A, not necessarily of artist rights, but of competition, which should put downward pressure on what we can buy things for, because it's not a madcap of an auction, but we'll see if that happens.
Now, this might be a stupid question, but is there any sort of like NFT in your future? Have you explored NFTs with your portfolio or your artists?
Yes. I mean, we always have discussions. A lot of that world begins with the artist and the manager world, where they decide that they have some creative ideas. Right? We co-own rights, co-administer rights with artists, and obviously the cult of personality there isn't sitting with Concord; it's sitting with the artists, and we haven't seen any overwhelming success in that world. We're learning about technologies, and we certainly have enough pristine IP to do this stuff, but we're not really gambling hard on that. No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years?
Well, there was a point in the past few years. I've been doing this again since 2006. So I think in the kind of cycle of anyone's career path, certainly people who are builders of companies, you sort of reach a point where you start saying to yourself, have I maxed out where I'm at? Because I'm not the one that makes sure all the dollars are collected. I'm not the one who makes sure that the HR handbooks are written. I grab my luggage and I go find the next deal. I started to wonder, certainly through COVID, when a lot of business was shut down and traveling was like, sort of what's next? And I think the answer to that is I love risks, but I also love my company and the people I work with and my board and my investors, quite honestly. And however this may sound to a serial entrepreneur, this thing that I built with my partners is incredibly important and prideful to me. I don't really want to try something else where I fail.
I hear
I'm
you.
just not interested. I'd rather this be my stake in the ground. And there's a lot of people that need to continue to roll the dice. Maybe after a long rest, I'd consider that, but I'm committed to this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky enough to know you as a friend, and I know that you are one of the most humble people that I've met who have obtained the type of success that you have. How do you maintain that humility?
The blessing and the curse of this is I can't stop seeing myself as a little engine that could. Not the little engine that did or has or is in process. So I don't, and I'm not really making this up. I don't see it. Like of course, I love my name in the press and I love knowing I'm associated with certain successes, but I don't pat myself on the back. People tell me like, stop for a minute and appreciate. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet. And I'd like to, but I also, I don't really think there's a whole lot of, bragging. I humble brag for sure, but it's just not my way. Also, it is, to answer that in another way, it's really helped the deal-making process. I mean, when we're our size we are, people see you coming. But for the first decade of this, that humility, we were not running around like some other competitors waving the flag saying, look who we are. And so people didn't know. They didn't know how we did business. They didn't know how we bid. They didn't know our team. And it was that was a big competitive advantage.
So now it's time for my Fearless 5 questions.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions. you get 2 passes. So you have to answer at least 3 of them.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Bring it.
Okay. What is something you think most people value that you don't necessarily subscribe to?
I think most people probably value the end result of success being a financial windfall. Of course, you want to be stable and secure, but along the way, it's the ride that really is a beautiful thing. The curse of the lottery winner isn't.
Right.
So,
right.
In your road to success, however you achieve it, it's not a discrete moment in time that defines a success. It's the whole way.
I feel like you should be giving this speech at a graduation somewhere because it's really like profound and
I've
important
thought about it
stuff.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What is your go-to karaoke song?
I can't sing. I literally is my nightmare singing. So if that's a pass, it's a pass.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever planned a prank months in advance, and what was it?
I've planned pranks, but I've never executed on them because I have to sleep on them and realize they're pretty horrific. So I don't know if they're necessarily funny pranks as much as like a little bit of payback. So I, thought about that and said, no, this is not funny.
Okay. That's kind of funny. What's the last thing you Googled?
Strangely, I Googled a house that I recently purchased.
Okay.
I don't know why.
This is kind of this is an inside joke. But if you could drive any car, what would it be?
It would be a brand new 5-speed Porsche 911 Targa that's gray.
Uh-huh.
With a dark red top.
Nice.
Yes, I've thought about this.
So not the yellow Lambo.
Not the in my quest to be maybe a little more discreet, I realize that you don't want to be the person on the road that everyone is looking at, either wants the car, wants to drive you off the road, or is making jokes about you.
For our audience, Steve and I had a really funny experience with the yellow Lambo.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, is there anything that's on your mind that you'd like to share with the audience?
I was walking up here. It's a cold day out, and there's a lot of craziness in the streets. I just think what I have been thinking about a little more as I walk around New York or wherever I go is just whoever is near you or next to you or acting in whatever way, like, show as much compassion as you can. People go through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we're all a little better when we don't try to clear the crowd out in front of us and maybe just, and I'm not necessarily so good at this, but just make a little space and be a little bit gentler and easier on the other people around us.
It's good advice.
Yeah. That I need to adhere to myself.
So do I.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Well, thank you so much. This was an amazing interview.
And the last thing.
Oh, yeah.
About my musical taste.
Yeah.
People always say, so what is your taste?
Yeah.
Or they'll say, do you like this song? What do you think of the song? It doesn't matter what I think of a song. Mm-hmm. I'm no one to say if your song is good or bad. What I just want everyone is just to find 1 or 2 songs that they love. Because if you can't love music, I'm not sure what other art forms are as easy as accessible as art. So,
or as emotionally invoking.
Yep.
In some sense.
So go find that song.
Thank you for watching and listening to Kelly Minds Her Manners. Make sure to subscribe to the show and don't forget to leave us a review to tell us what you liked about the episode. You can connect with Kelly at Kelly Minds Her Manners on Instagram and TikTok or on our website, www.kellymindshermanners.com.